All right, so you're browsing YouTube. You're trying to find the perfect World of Warcraft video to put on the background while you eat your lunch or something that you want to just kind of dive into. Well, this is the video for you because it's going to be useless rambling about the Mythic Plus dungeons and where I rank them for the season. Now, I might do a video about the current state of Mythic Plus, which, you know, it's no given surprise to the state of it, but I think it'd be good to do a deep dive. I've also been considering putting back together the old podcast that a couple of buddies of mine used to do. But we'll see. We'll probably revisit that later. This video today is just about a simple tier list ranking on the Mythic Plus dungeons. And this is coming from the perspective of a main tank player. I've had more fun playing as DPS and keys this season, so there's also going to be a few gameplay clips of me on my lock. Now a little bit about me. I have done Mythic Plus for a long time. I've played all the way back in BFA. I did not play during Legion when it first dropped, which I'm really sad that I didn't get the chance to experience the uncapped AoE cleave, the simpler times. Anywho, I've loved Mythic Plus. It's been the center point that has kept me in World of Warcraft. Just no other game scratches that itch that Mythic Plus does. So I always like to internally rank these dungeons. And each season there's always, you know, one or two easy keys, and there's a few that are just dead keys for the week, so to speak. And there's a few others that are, you know, could be challenging, but you can push through it and persevere. And there are a few seasons where there's like outliers for that. Like season 3 of Dragonflight had a really good Mythic Plus pool where almost every single key felt like you could time it and you were motivated to get on every day because you were like, I can push no matter what it can be. But now we have a much more unrewarding Mythic Plus pool, along with a very strict timer and very unrewarding affixes. And you have the Mythic Plus level squish as well, too. So, you know, you tackle all those things together, just trying to give a background of my expertise and the variables that I'm considering. I'm going to take in a lot of things to account. You know, I'll consider, you know, little things such as like where the summoning stone will be, certain pulls, certain boss mechanics, how pug friendly it can be, you know, this, that, and the other. It's not gonna be like a formal ranking system. It's just gonna be how I feel based on my personal experiences. So just know that this tier list is not true to like any other tier list. You know, someone could say something completely different and they're completely entitled to that because that's their own experiences that they've had with that. Their key push group could have ease with one key that my group struggles with, and that's okay. You know, I just like to talk about keys. I'm a yapper when it comes to that. So stay tuned because this more than likely will not be the only Mythic Plus video that I make. I was thinking of doing like a breakdown video of mechanics and stuff, but the YouTuber Quasi does it best. I mean, he is the best one out there. Shout out to Quasi. If you don't know anything about these dungeons, I would highly suggest going over to his channel. He goes over a breakdown. It's, you know, 45-minute videos per dungeon. It may seem lengthy, but give it a one good watch through, and I guarantee you learn a thing or two or a better understanding. So, anyways, let's get right into it. So the first one I'm going to go through is going to be Dawnbreaker. Now, at the beginning of the season, Dawnbreaker was an extremely difficult key. It had a lot of bugs. There were a lot of bugs submitted during beta, and, you know, there was a little lack of confidence on whether or not those bugs were actually recognized. They've since smoothed the kinks and the timer and the percentages and all that jazz with the Dawnbreaker, and now it's one of my favorite dungeons. So I'll go over the pros. So for Dawnbreaker, my biggest thing is the timer. It's pretty solid. I'm pretty happy with where it's at right now. I'm always a big fan from a tank perspective of dungeons that have really good flexibility on the routes that you can take in the dungeons. So for Dawnbreaker, it's like this wide open town. There's a lot of different packs you can take. Now there's certain ads that as a tank you don't want to take, especially on fortified weeks, because it will eat up the time in your key. But I will say, let me see if I can find the footage here I have. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Okay, so here we go. Here's me. Now keep in mind too, I want to add the highest keys I've really pushed this season has been I want to say like 1 or 2 9s, but majority 8s. I'm kind of taking my time, which again, that could be another video. In the past, I normally get like around 3k IO. It's nothing to go home bragging about, but it's definitely, I'd like to say that I'm well versed with keys. I watch MDI, I watch a lot of my favorite streamers, so I have a pretty solid understanding of keys as a whole. So you'll see some +2s, some +4s, some +8s. I'm still going to tack on like the background of, okay, like this in this video, this seems easy, but on a higher key, this is actually really difficult to deal with. Those kind of mentalities to be applied. So opening pool to Dawnbreaker actually isn't that bad. See, it's 30 seconds. It's already fast. It's clean. I like it. I think they fixed it, but at the beginning of Dawnbreaker, there was like an ad over here that would follow with you. It doesn't count towards percentage. It would just be a slight nuisance. Nothing really crazy. Let me see. So my biggest gripe is not here. These are, oh wait, here we go. This boss. So this boss in itself, still to this day, can be a complete key killer. My biggest gripe is that the reaction time to pull the boss away from like these circles that are dropping on your DPS, it's not enough time. Oftentimes it can come out of sync, and so you'll have like this boss here, right here, and so you'll have this rotating beam, and a lot of times like your DPS could get trapped over here, and that's really problematic because that ultimately kills your key. It's a very intensive, a lot of mechanics going on type fight. I think, yeah, this was the Devour affix. But yeah, these are the circles I'm talking about here. And so you see I'm dragging the boss away to give my DPS room for the rotating beams. And a lot of times this can get out of sync. And I'll have the circles being hugged to the boss. And that's, never a good time. Yeah, you see, I think, yeah, this is the key I had some latency issues with. But other than that, the boss isn't terrible. Even on Tyrannical Week, it's manageable. My biggest complaint with Dawnbreaker, right? Not all the generals are fine. Well, this one's fine. Let me finish with this pack here. So yeah, I have two cons to this key, right? One is this general. No good way about pulling this general properly. Like you can go into the house, still makes it problematic. You can go outside of the house, still makes it problematic. You see I'm doing like a top-down view because I'm trying to see the frontal and see which direction it's going to go in. I'm trying to do that to set up my group because I want my group to be on the outside over here, not getting hit by any of these frontals. But you see I kind of like dragged that one a little bit over to the edge more than I want to. Again, this is just a 2, so very rewarding even if you mess up on any aspect. The next one on higher keys, around 9 or higher, is, excuse me, this boss over here. This boss has a combination of all the mechanics of all its Latinics. So you see I put a marker down over there because I want my group to bait the orb that way. Because if they bait it anywhere else, it's going to be problematic. You have the Circle of Death, because on higher keys, it'll probably chunk, probably like right here, of like my DPS's health, if they don't get out of the circle fast enough. And I've just learned it's easier as a tank to just stay where you are when you have that circle. Only because if you're moving around, you're going to have oftentimes your DPS is going to move in the direction that you're moving with you. And so it's easier just to stand still. The other thing is a lot of tanks don't know they need to get aggro of these ads as soon as they pop. I've seen that kill a lot of groups too. But this boss just has way too much going on. It feels like a mini raid boss. My only gripe with Dawnbreaker. However, even with that being said, and looking at, you know, the wide array of this, I put Dawnbreaker S tier. That's what I'm locking in with. I'm gonna go Dawnbreaker S tier. Overall, very well put together key. I really appreciate it. I was really skeptical during beta. It was very finicky, but I'm glad they smoothed the kinks out. So next one we got coming up is Ara-Kara. Let me see if I can find my multiple tabs here. It's Mist, Necrotic, Siege. Here we go, Ara-Kara. Okay, I stopped right at the point where I want to get over. So, Ara-Kara is like summoning stone location, everything. Really not that bad. It's right there in front of the dungeon. It's not terrible. Same thing with Dawnbreaker. Nothing to really be upset about. With Ara-Kara, a lot of times, like when I'm playing against DPS, tanks don't know that they really need to clear everything out of this area. If not, it can be really problematic for your group because, you know, everyone gets tight in a pinch, especially on Tyrannical. You really need to use this whole entire space. But my biggest thing is this boss is awful. It's so simple, right? You know, they spawn ads. Let's see here. This is an 8 that I did on my Warlock. They're gonna spawn ads, right? You got to DPS the ads down before they get to the boss. The boss does like a tank buster. It's nothing crazy. But after you down the ads, or you know, around the time, it's based on a timer, not completion of killing the ads. You see, I immediately turn because they're top priority. It's gonna start spawning these like gray circles at your feet, so it starts eating up the space that you're in. So it's ultimately a DPS check, and oftentimes I've had this boss kill my key for Ara-Kara way too much. And the thing about Ara-Kara is there's a lot of time. There's a lot of percentage, and it's a very easy key to time as long as you get past this first boss. That is the issue that a lot of people have. On Fortified, it's not so hard because the ads in here aren't that terribly difficult to deal with. But you see, like, the tank's not moving this boss. There's already, like, that's not good. You got to start DPSing these ads down. They don't have that much health, but it's just the fact that people forget about them or they get locked in and tunneled. Like, you know, when I'm on my Affliction Warlock, I have to run through my rotation, apply my dots. So it's hard for me to switch to targets like that unless I have one of my cooldowns up that can instantly apply all my corruptions all at once. But you see, like, ads right there, and the tank's not even moving the like, as soon as the ads go down as a tank, you need to be immediately moving the boss away. And see, like, got lucky there right at the right time, which is, you know, good thinking on the tank's behalf. Yeah, other than that, Ara-Kara is very well put together. I'm running through my head now and trying to think about what else there is that could go wrong. I mean, second boss isn't that terrible. Even the final boss isn't even that bad. There's a lot of racial abilities and movement abilities that can kind of cheese the mechanics in that boss, and it makes it really easy. So I'm going to go ahead and lock in Ara-Kara with S tier. Not just because it has one of the best trinkets in the game. Next up we have Grim-Batol, which I think Grim-Batol is one of the keys that I had queued up on my player. I did. Okay, it's one of the ones I recorded. Ara-Kara is, or not, Grim-Batol isn't that bad. It can be at higher difficulties. I think it's gotten easier if you have a better understanding. Let's see. First boss isn't terrible. Get through all this trash here. And there we go. This first boss right here. Yeah, not anything terrible. The other thing I'll say though is this boss. So when I do this boss on my Warlock, so the tank can pull it up here, and I'll have my Warlock like somewhere around here, DPSing the boss down. For some reason, I still haven't figured it out. I want to say it's a bug. I hope it's a bug, because if it's something I'm doing, I want to correct it. But I've gone through my logs and I can't find anything wrong. We'll have this like platform down here, not this one, but the one down the stairs. For some reason, gets tagged by my dots, and I don't know how, I don't know why, and it pulls them into the boss fight and has bricked one too many of my keys. So if you have any idea if you've had that issue or that struggle, type in the comments what you found as a solution, or if I'm just a bad player, that's fine too. You know, that's hit me with it. Hit me with the worst. Yeah, this boss isn't terrible. As long as the tank clears enough room for the group to have mobility to move around. If you're on Tyrannical Week and you're only trying to do this first quadrant, it can be problematic. But my other thing is going to be the dragon boss. So let me see if I can get to here. Where is he at? There he is. Oh, this graphics. That's yeesh. Need to work on that. Yeah, so this is the dragon boss. This is probably the biggest key killer out of this whole entire dungeon. This boss fight is just not fun. Like, you're being thrown around. You can't let these guys touch the boss at all, or else it's a wipe. As a tank, you have to kind of in your head divide this area into quadrants and move from starting here down in this way, which you see I don't. I start one quadrant ahead because we're in a +2, so I figured it didn't really matter. Which it didn't, not a 2 at least, but on like a higher keys, you have to eat that right side up. The last boss isn't terrible. There's just a lot going on. When it first went live, it was really frustrating, but I think I only have issue on my blood DK because of the mobility issues, but even then, I can AMS and clear a lot of the tentacles, so it's kind of like a trade-off for being slow. I can just make my own path. This small circle can be frustrating, but I don't really have any major complaints about it. So I think that at least for Grim-Batol, I'll put it at. Ooh, this is gonna be tough because I don't feel like it's good at A tier, right? But I feel like it's like A B tier, like in between. It's not S tier dungeon by any means. Oh, you know what a good variable to throw in here would be the spawn points. So I think 2 for Grim-Batol. I'm gonna put it at a B tier just because like the running back, the spawn point is what does it in for me. Now, Mist of Turn of Scythe. Yeah, this one here. Let me which ones have we gone over already? Ara-Kara will exit out of that one. Okay. Yeah, so for Mist, I'm going to go ahead and put. I'm gonna go ahead and put Mist at B tier, and I'll tell you why. So for Mist and Shadowlands, it was an easy S tier every week, S tier key. And the thing that changed this season was the timer. Mist is extremely tight on the timer, and there's no lack of mobility for the route for tanking. You have to go the route of the maze. You can't plan beforehand. You have to plan after, and it's not really fun from a tanking perspective to either get to the last boss or kill the last boss and still have percentage left over, because you feel like it's a good tanking mentality to get to the last boss and your percent's done and all you have to do is worry about the last boss. There's a lot of trash before the last boss that you can clear out, but it's not really efficient to go down one path, come back, and then go around the other way. It's more efficient to work your way towards the last boss. If Lust is up, kill the last boss, and then move towards the trash, or move towards the trash if Lust isn't up, and then to the last boss. But I did like the changes they made to the Covenant abilities. There is that one pack in Mist where it's very advantageous to skip, and my only thing with that is that it kind of gatekeeps certain classes that don't have the right skip, and we can get into the weeds on that later on how I feel about Mythic Plus, because then I'll get into rogue skips and I'll get on a tangent. I'll make a Mythic Plus video. I just got to figure out what you guys can watch. Like, I'll put like Subway Surfer or something up. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out together. Yeah, so for Mist of Turn of Scythe, the only thing that sucks is this boss. The the guess what is different boss. The guessing game one. So way too many mechanics for this boss. This boss was extremely difficult in Shadowlands, and it's extremely difficult in War Within. You have the patty cake, which tanks have to interrupt. And then you have the fixation clone, which you either have to DPS down or hard CC. You have the guessing game where the boss becomes practically immune. I think they take maybe 1% of damage. I don't even think, no, I think they've become 100% immune. But you got to find the difference in the key, in the boss fight. And just way too much going on. And a lot of times while you're trying to figure out the difference, arrows come out, you get one shot. If a tank misses a patty cake, they become disoriented, and the boss will move towards the next highest aggro table member, which, you know, this key results in a lot of deaths and a lot of key wipes, or key breaks. So if you can get past this boss, the key is pretty much in the bag. Yeah, what I'm talking about too is I'm just gonna skip here. Nope. I'm making the sound louder. Let's see. Here, this is what I was talking about. So like, you got to go through this first area. I'm at 60%, and I already know that I'm probably gonna have to go past the last boss for percentage. Let's skip through here. It's taking trouble to load. Yeah, see, I'm at 80%. I already know that I'm gonna have to pull past. We have a 70-second cooldown on Lust, so I want to maximize that time as much as possible. So I do my Demon Hunter things. I'm going across the map, pulling this trash, getting aggro. I think I pull in the next pack too. Yeah, I'm trying to squeeze as much as I can in that 50-second window because I'm trying to maximize my time. Now again, this is a +2. So there's a lot of time on the clock, but like on high keys, like 8 or higher, right around this point, you're probably going to be at like 6 or 7 minutes if you don't like do some like MDI thinking or big brain pulling type ordeals. It can get really spicy really quick with a key, just because of time, because you feel rushed and you want to make risk plays, and they usually end up not going in your favor. That's ultimately why I want to push Mist to be a B tier, just because it's tight on timer. And the other thing, this is a personal opinion for sure, is the summoning stone location. It is like the worst location possible because you see it on the map, but there's so many trees and coves that you just fly over it almost every single time. Certain tunes of mine have Gathermate, and Gathermate just lights up the map like a Christmas tree, so it's even harder to find. Yeah, the next one we'll go into, let me see, is Necrotic Wake. Okay, so for Necrotic Wake, Summoning Stone's good location. I will say the respawn points are very rough up until a certain point. After the three-headed dragon chimera, whatever how do you pronounce it, encounter, it gets easier. Even saying that, I'm still gonna put Necrotic Wake as B tier. It's not terrible, especially from a tanking. I have the route down to a T. The only thing though is this boss. Again, same mentality with Mist. Same mentality with Dawnbreaker. This boss in itself is like a mini raid boss. So essentially what he does is, you have to interrupt this boss, but it's kind of a bait because you need to interrupt the Frostbolt volley from the mages, which pose more of a damage. And this key is really easy to do on my Blood DK because I can save my slappy hands to pull everything near me for at least one iteration of these ads. But even after that, I'll have Death Grip for 2 more, so I can pull both of the mages in and we can cleave them down. But you see, one of the volleys got off, and what is that? Yeah, our healer immediately went down. And it's just absolute nonsense with this fight. You have to watch where the ads are dying. It does a rotating breath on the party. Again, this is a +5. +5s are relatively easy. They only go wrong if you have like a really bad judgment call or low DPS or something. But that boss in itself is not fun, and I don't know who designed it, but it's bad. But this area next, so this boss also not a fun. The next bosses after this actually aren't fun whatsoever. They did the change where you can't stack spears, which is nice. It helps with each of the bosses leading up, but this boss in itself really does need all the spears, all the abilities you can throw at it. You don't want to go through more than one iteration of him coming down because it's just such a time sink. And then you go to the last boss. Let me see if I can speed, because I know we sped through this boss. Let me see if I can get to here. Trying to find, here we go. Yeah. Not enough room on this platform. Comet Storm's really egregious. The sitting the icy, what's it called? The frozen binds. This is such a pain to deal with, especially if, like, as a healer you instantly, and see, like, our paladin forgot about the circle that comes down once you land after going through the gauntlet, and he put a random frozen circle in the middle of the room, which completely cut our movement area basically in half. So even saying all that, though, like, you know, the keys are very easily doable. The bosses aren't terribly difficult. On higher keys, especially on Tyrannical, I've seen the first boss I've seen every boss really have the potential to key brick, but I personally enjoy Necrotic Wake. I could see it being a C tier, but even having said that, I place it at B. It's not that bad now, you know. Week 1 of season 1 of War Within was abysmal. I would have had all these keys at like C or D tier, but different story, different time, you know. A lot of changes have been put out. And next one we'll go over is Siege of Boralus. So for Siege, actually one of my personal favorites, which is actually kind of ironic because I hated Siege for the longest time. It gave me so much trouble in BFA that I dreaded when they would bring it back into the Mythic Plus pool. And they did, and I was not excited for it. Week 1 was not a good time. But now all the changes they've made, I actually would put Siege at 8 or 8 A tier. Portal location's not that bad. Now you can fly into the Horde town regardless if you're the other faction. Just fly through the portal and you'll be fine. My only gripe is going to be this boss. The ads aren't that terrible. I'm thinking about it. Yeah, they're all fairly manageable. The thing that makes or break a Siege key for the ads is whether or not you have a good tank that knows how to position themselves for the next pull. This boss is rather frustrating to deal with. Sorry, that's my voice in the background, but yeah, this one's rather difficult to deal with because they don't give you much reaction time. And one of my DPS was actually telling me in comms, like, hey, you're a little too close to the wall. You know, I try to use this pocket to bait that away, but if a wave had spawned right there, I would have immediately died. And there's not much reaction time on the wave. I think they've kind of nerfed it a little bit, but like week 1, it was really not rewarding. But see, you immediately have to move. And I tried week 1 to get on the center of the fountain, and it actually would bug the boss out. Funny enough, I think it still bugs it out, but there's just not enough room for this fight just because of the icy circles on the ground. And you see, I think it's, let me see. Yeah, so right here is when my DPS, like, you know, the whole fight he's been saying like, hey, you move him away. He even said like, here, they're a little too close. So I go to this corner and I'm like, you know, is this fine? Even though there's no room, I gave my DPS this little sliver, which he eventually moves over here to take advantage of that open area. See, he's hopping over here. But they've already baited all these areas. So we really needed to get a wave over here and here, which we didn't. So we had to kind of back up a little bit. We're in a bad spot, but And that was a bad sync too. That's the other thing that's bad about this boss is it can get off sync really quick, where the tank frontal can happen when a mechanic is already live. The next gripe I have is going to be this boss. So they did a lot of changes to this boss. Week 1, these tentacles would push the tank away. And the thing about the Demolishing Terrors is tanks have to be on these tentacles as soon as they spawn, or else it does group-wide damage and it's a wipe. And this, you see the slam it's doing. Every time it's slammed, it would push the tank back. And that's why I like doing it on my Blood DK, because I can just Death's Advance it and just stay where I am. But you can see here, as soon as we kill that tentacle, and right as it gets to about, I think 30% is, right when it's at 30% is when I start moving to the next location immediately. I want to set up, I want to get ready, I don't want to have group-wide damage. The other thing that kind of sucks about this fight is the cannon. The cannon's really finicky. Doesn't give you much time to get out of. You see, the guy that hopped in the cannon had the debuff. He died in the cannon because our healer couldn't heal him because he was in a vehicle. So that's ultimately, like, I love Siege, and but the timer is really rewarding. It feels like a really smooth key. The ads are very well put together. That's why it gets A tier in my book. The next one is going to be Stonevault. Yeah, I'm gonna have to put Stonevault on D tier. I think Stonevault is the worst key this expansion or this season. Here's why. One, I'm not a fan of the summoning stone location, because you get summoned and you run in, and right before you get to the instance, you're like, oh wait, do I need to repair? Well, you're inside a building, so you got to leave the building, repair, and then go back in. That's just a little nuisance that I just personally don't like. The other thing is this pull from a tank. I'm on my Warlock in this key, and it's just a +4, so I think this, yeah, we killed this key, I think. Or no, I think this tank. Yeah, this tank DC'd at the end. I remember this key. Yeah, this pull is an absolute nightmare for a tank, especially on Fortified. On Tyrannical, you can pull this whole hallway, or you're supposed to save time. But there's 2 packs that have a Howling Fear. There's also a stun that goes out. All of the ads in this key have very punishing cast that you have to interrupt. They have very punishing, like, stuns, fears, certain locks of cast spells. Like, it's just really frustrating. You know, they have totems they spawn down, and if you can't get the totem out in time, it's also group-wide damage. The first boss is annoying because you have to... Let me see if I can buffer the video here to get through this. Yeah, this pack right here, you have to separate this pack. Like, there's no smooth flow to the key. And so one of the things that I value really highly is how smooth does a key feel as a tank when you're running through? Can you effortlessly go from pack to pack to pack? And, like, you know, there's still challenges, but you can still move on to the next pack type ordeal. And there's really no saying, like, what to lust on in this key, because each wing have bosses that are really difficult to deal with. I mean, you have the duo pack boss that if you don't DPS them down at the same time, and there's too much health left on the last living one, it's a wipe, and that's not fun from any player experience to get towards the end of a boss encounter to die to a mechanic like that. The other one has let me see if I can speed towards it here. You find it. Right, is this it? Yeah. This one, very, very difficult and tyrannical. This was fortified, so we're melting it, but he gets a shield regardless. And yeah, it's just not this key. I have not had a fun experience in this key. I think on all my tunes, this is my lowest timed dungeon, and whenever I get around on my cycle of timing keys, and this is the one that I need to time, I just know I'm in for a day's worth of declines or untimed keys, and it's never fun. So that gets my worst ranking. The last one we have is City of Threads. So City of Threads, not a terrible key in theory, but I'm gonna go ahead and give City of Threads a C tier ranking. So this is my final tier list of the keys for the season. And the reason City of Threads gets a C tier is because I don't like the what's it called? There was that one dungeon, like the one in the Siramar. I forget the name of it at the top of my head. But yeah, so the first thing first, well, this is kind of like skipping past the point, but for City of Threads, to get past a certain point, you have to find the imposters. And I don't know why that's a mechanic in any key level dungeon, because all it does is eat time. This one's a little bit faster, a little bit easier, but I still am not a fan of it. We just got done with the two-paired boss. This is just a +6, another easy key to push through. And the two-paired boss are really difficult to deal with because they have this really frustrating tank soak that can get out of sync with the mechanics. And no one likes the, a tank soak on top of something that you need to get out of. The tank has to get out of that quickly, but their health's still going down regardless because they need to get so. It's absolute madness. The other thing is this mini boss, not even mini boss, it's just an ad, but this ad feels like a mini boss. And as a caster, you can't get anything off. I mean, even look, I'm staying out of green puddles. I'm still getting my health chunked no matter what. The venomous spray is awful. Our shadow priest went down because they were in the green puddle, and I think it was just one hit them and they were already out, and this is a +6. My other thing is this whole hallway is awful. And this boss is so poorly constructed. Not enough room whatsoever to get this mechanic. So essentially with this boss, right, it spawns these orbs that everyone needs to go and soak, and you soak the orb. It does attacking dot on the player that hit the orb. It also leaves a puddle in the ground, which makes the space smaller in the ground, and you don't want the boss to sit in the puddles for too long, as well as your party. So you're running out of room no matter which way you take it, and it's really frustrating to deal with. And then you have the last boss here, if I can get to it with the buffering. The ads before this boss are also really difficult to deal with. You have to try to pull one by one. I can't remember if I did it on this key or if I just pulled them both, because in the beginning of the season we pulled them both and didn't realize that we should probably separate the two of them. Yeah, see, I'm trying to pull it, but you literally, and you have to. I think, yeah, we ended up, yeah. So last boss, again, it's another one of those where this feels like it has way too much going on as a boss encounter, and I think Blizzard worked really hard to make these boss encounters really difficult. They made Mythic Plus exceptionally challenging this season, and I think they did a little bit of overkill with the boss mechanics. So like for this one, you had an orb that hit our priest, and it killed them. You got to dodge the orbs. There's a tank mechanic where you have to soak all the orbs. This boss will shift into its lieutenant's abilities where you have to get out of a circle. You get rooted. There's ads that spawn. Ultimately, way too much going on in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, this is my ranking currently for Season 1 of War Within. If you guys feel any differently, like put some comments, like, some arguments. See if you can sway my mind and change my mind. B tier and up. I will push these keys any day of the week. City of Threads and Stonevault, get them away from me, please, with like a 10-foot pole. I know that some people might have like a bad experience with one of these keys, and that could have completely swayed your opinion completely on like why you feel like, why is Siege A tier? I had a really bad tank and I avoid it like the plague, and that's fair. You know, like I do a lot of keys on a lot of tunes, and it's, you know, a lot of easy keys, a lot of hard keys, and this is just my rough consensus of you know, the make or break keys for the season. And if you guys feel any differently or want to make your own tier list, tag me in the comments. Let me know how you feel. I'm always down for some you know, back and forth yapping about keys and how we feel which way. This is ultimately why I like making videos like these. Is I like conversating with the community and hearing everyone's opinions and seeing how they feel. I look forward to hearing from you guys, and thanks for taking the time to watch this video. I appreciate it truly. So without further ado, have a good night.